and we may not be sure of what's happening. And when the moon card comes up in a reading, a lot of times we'll say, hey, don't make any like big decisions right now because you may be clouded, which is kind of on par to what I was saying with the Sabian symbol, saying don't make any permanent commitments. Instead, step slowly into the unknown and experiment. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jazz, and today I'm so excited to talk to you guys about the Pisces lunar eclipse that's happening on September 17th, 2024. Now, this one is, like I mentioned in my September overview video, this one is kind of, to me, a preview for the eclipses that are going to start happening in 2025 once the nodes actually move into the Pisces Virgo axis, where the nodes will be moving in January of 2025, and where we will continue to have eclipses until February of 2027. So I think this one is really going to be a powerful and intuitive breakthrough for us and a preview for us to see where we are moving towards in these parts of our chart and on a collective level. I think it's really interesting and important that before 2027, I have a video about 2027 and the global cycle shift according to human design that you can check out if you're interested. But before 2027, we are having the North Node in Pisces, and Pisces being the ultimate and final spiritual sign of the zodiac. And so we're really being pushed as a collective into finding a balance, of course, between spirituality and practicality, service on a practical level and service on a spiritual level, and taking care of ourselves as well. This is a health access too. It's like the Virgo aspect of health versus the Pisces aspect of health. And the planning, even though they're both feminine signs, Virgo, because it's ruled by Mercury, is definitely into planning things, being more detailed, whereas Pisces is so feminine there's this flow state that can be achieved there. There's dreaminess because it's ruled by Neptune, which would be actually conjunct the moon during the lunar eclipse. And so we're finding this balance between our taking care of our bodies, taking care of our emotional well-being, and yet also stepping into spirituality in a new way, because in 2027, besides the human design global shift and all of that, there's a lot to that. But we're going to have the North Node in Aquarius with Pluto in Aquarius. So it's going to be a very interesting time to be alive. I mean, it is right now too. It really is such a powerful time to be alive. But okay, without further ado, let's get more into this specific lunar eclipse that's happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. Now, I did do a collective tarot card reading as well as a sign by sign tarot reading. And then I did also look at the Sabian symbol, and I'm really glad I did because that just gave me so much more information. So before we even get started though, I want to, as I always do with full moons, remind you that the advice here is really to just listen and surrender. And this happening in the sign of Pisces is asking even more so of that for us. I say those words, they come out super easily. I know that it's not a simple topic. It is and it isn't. There is simplicity, but there's also complexity in like what is surrender. And also it's, the masculine energy is so pervasive in our society. And when I say masculine, it has nothing to do with gender. We all have masculine and feminine energies within us. And we are always maintaining this yin and yang, trying to maintain this yin and yang of balance between the two energies. And so what's happened in our society is so much masculine energy has been promoted we've got to have goals. We've got to work towards them. We've got to plan it. We've got to be doing. We've got to be productive. And really, if you think about it, the society really benefits from having us in this place, right? Corporations, the government, really everyone who is not the people benefits from having us in this space. It keeps us busy and uninformed. It keeps us tired and uninformed. And it also keeps us being productive, right? So while working for corporations isn't necessarily a negative thing if you truly are aligned with their cause, but as a whole, society has kind of made us lose touch with the feminine through conditioning of us since we were children. And so, like, what is the feminine, right? And this is a whole nother topic, but what I can tell you is that feminine is receptive, it's open, and it is where our creativity comes from. And so, really, the way that it should be working, in my opinion, I don't like shoulding people, but in my opinion, the way that I see it being most efficacious for humans and not corporations is that we come from a place of the feminine, of this creative portal, this birthing portal, and from that we can use masculine energy in order to build something from it, right? But we root down into the feminine energy of the creativity that is available to us all the time. And then we use masculine energy in order to put that out into the world. With eclipses and full moons, they are asking us to be in the feminine. The moon is illuminated, whereas with a new moon, it's a dark moon. The moon is not there. I mean, it's there, but we can't see it, right? So it's really, the focus is not gone on the moon. But on a full moon or a lunar eclipse like this one, there is a lot of focus on the moon, and the moon is bright. And it's lit up. And so it's really an internal process and a time for us to be open to what comes up, and knowing that we don't necessarily have to make a decision right in this moment, and we can allow the information to come up and the breakthroughs to come up, which is what I think really full moon and lunar eclipses are about. I got laid off last year during a new moon eclipse, and then I did a silent meditation retreat for a week, and during that time we had a lunar eclipse, and it was like right after, and I got really, really cool with the idea that I just got laid off. Like, I was super excited about it, but it was Mercury retrograde and they offered me my job back and I refused it. But yeah, so it's really more of an understanding of, okay, like something's coming up, something's shifting internally. So this eclipse is happening on September 17th, 2024 at 8:34 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This eclipse is the culmination also of seeds that were planted on March 10th, 2024, when we had a new moon in Pisces. So that's also something to think about, what was happening around March in the Pisces part of your chart that is now coming to a culmination, that is now coming to a peak and getting ready to be closed out. So it's like when I think of eclipses and full moon, lunar eclipses and full moons, it's culmination and illumination, completion, things like that. The last time we had eclipses here was from 2006, 2008, and November 2015 to May of 2017. So what was happening in your life around those times in the Pisces Virgo parts of your chart? The areas activated by the eclipse may see dramatic turns, and after that, the path will probably be clear to move forward, but a lot of times there's a lot of resistance, right? But what I think is interesting is a lot of times with lunar eclipses, and I think this one in particular, whatever is shifting or whatever decision we're making internally, like really deciding to do something internally, may not be actionable right away, but we're making a decision, which I think is a main theme of this, which is interesting because I did also talk about that in my September overview video, was that September was, I got the Two of Swords. So it was alluding to the fact that September was going to be a time of choices. And maybe I was really picking up energetically on this eclipse that was happening this month, because as you'll see as I go through it, the Sabian symbol as well as the tarot kind of support that, and how we can find, even through any sort of crisis, we can make the decision to find an opportunity through that. Or not, right? That's why it's a decision. But yeah, so culmination of something that was began in March of 2024. Whatever changes we feel, we probably had an inkling that these changes were coming and they were necessary. But we kind of pushed it aside. You know, I mean, we've got so much to deal with on a day-to-day basis, a lot of us. We can't address everything all the time, but we've been feeling this come up. Okay, yeah, deal with it. And then it's like, it almost comes up so strongly during this lunar eclipse that we really have to look at it during this time. So my question is can you hold space for the idea that maybe whatever path you're being pushed towards could be better than the path you're currently on? I feel like this lack of connection to the feminine, which is also mystery, which is also magic, which is also the unknown, has really severed our ability to be able to dance with the unknown and find the beauty in stepping into a new place without even knowing what's our plan. What are we doing? But deciding that this is the direction we want to go into, right? I'm not sure if I've said this before. I probably have, because I use this quote way too often. But a poet by the name of David Whyte, he was asked, you know, how do you know you're on the right path? And he said, when it disappears. When you have no idea where you're going, that's how you know you're on the right path. And that's just, I come back to that all the time, and I try to stay in that state of unknowingness as much as possible and connect to the present moment of like, what do I want to do right now? What feels good right now? What feels like it needs my attention right now? And what do I want to be putting my attention towards right now? Let's talk about some of the transits that are happening, because I think this is very interesting. So the Pisces Virgo axis is all about service and health, and full moons are inherently relationship oriented because the nature of an opposition, so full moons is when the sun and moon are opposing each other, the nature of oppositions is relational. And what we are trying to do is find balance. So with a full moon, it's like the moon and Neptune are sitting in Pisces, and Saturn. The moon is in between Saturn and Neptune. And then we've got the sun and Mercury in very logical planets in the sign of a much more logical Virgo. And when I look at this pairing, it looks like, and I say this with nuance, I feel like the moon, Saturn, Neptune win because they've got a lot of collective energy behind that, right? The Neptune is a transpersonal planet, and Saturn and Jupiter are social / collective planets. So they have a little bit more strength, and also the moon, right? The moon and the sun are both individuation planets, but yeah, it just feels like this side of us is really asking to, is needing more of our attention than the Virgo and, the sun and Mercury and Virgo side. Neptune is inspirational, dreamy, intuitive, and looks at the bigger picture, whereas Virgo likes details, plans, facts, and practicality. And during this time, so even the sun is opposing the moon and Neptune. And also, like I said, I feel like this is why I feel like this Pisces area is definitely getting more power to it, because the moon is sextiling Uranus in Taurus and Pluto in Capricorn for the final time that it's going to be in Capricorn, right? So it gives us an opportunity to transform and revolutionize our ways of responding to whatever is going on at the moment during this eclipse. And eclipses, just like other lunations, are 6-month cycles, right? So it's not necessarily that everyone on the day of the eclipse is going to have this massive breakthrough. I think that's the majority, especially if you have Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Virgo, which, by the way, when I did the tarot card pulls, I got major arcanas for 6 of the signs, and 4 of them were all the mutable signs, which makes sense because this is going to be impacting you directly. And also Cancer was another one that got a major arcana, which makes sense because Cancer's ruled by the moon, right? So it's the lunations always affect Cancer a lot. And then the other one was Aquarius. So interesting. So during this eclipse, though, Venus will also be in Libra opposing Chiron in Aries, while Lilith and the South Node are sitting together in Libra. So Venus has moved apart from Lilith and the South Node, but they're still together, and then Venus is opposing Chiron. And Mars is squaring the nodes. So this is all making me feel like not only do we have a full moon, which is relational in nature, we've got Venus opposing Chiron, then Mars, which is another relational planet, is squaring the nodes. So this feels like collectively, it's very much about how we deal with other people. It's very much about relationships. And I think for a lot of us, a lot of deep woundings are going to come up in how our relationships are going or how we're relating to other people. And we may collectively see like an urge for freedom within relationships, or the pain, we're feeling the pain of restriction within relationships, and really pushing to be more of yourself, being more authentic in how you relate to other people. But this is a push and pull. And as I saw in my tarot collective reading that I did for everybody, this definitely came up, was that there's this balance that's being struck between how we're relating to other people, how we're behaving in conflict, and how we're learning to create harmony and have expansion in our lives without abandoning ourselves, but also without having constant conflict with others. You know, there's this like such a fine line that needs to be made, and I think that we're exploring that. Mars in Cancer squaring the nodes is also pushing us to assert ourselves in the direction of soul growth and our purpose, right? One thing, when I was looking at the chart for this full moon eclipse, and what I noticed was we have no planets in fire, none, during the time of this eclipse. And besides our moon sign, you know, changing signs every 2.5 days, that we're not going to have planets in fire for a little bit here. I think Mars moving into Leo on November 4th may be the first planet other than the moon that we're going to have in fire. Let me know if I'm incorrect on that. I was just thinking about it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be Mars. And that's going to be on November 4th, which is the day before the United States presidential election. So that's really interesting also because both nominees have a Mars in Leo. So it will be the beginning of their Mars return. And, you know, actually Donald Trump is a wonderful example of somebody who's born under a lunar eclipse. And actually a lot of prominent public figures were born under eclipses, because when the nodes are involved with your sun and your moon, your individuation planets, or luminaries, I guess you could say, you have a very fated life, and there is a lot of power in who you are becoming and what's going on. But if we think about, let's just use Donald Trump right now, okay? So obviously you have to look at the whole chart. Yes. Of course. Absolutely. Uh, but even just knowing that he was born on a lunar eclipse when the north node was sitting with his moon and the south node was sitting with his the north node was sitting with his sun and his south node was sitting with his moon. And he was ultimately born, like I said, on a full moon on steroids. So people talk about him being like very loud and, showy or just speaking his mind, which, fun fact, which may make you love me or hate me depending on how you lean. But Donald Trump is like my astrological twin, okay? So we both have a Leo rising, Gemini sun, Sag moon, Venus in Cancer, and Mars in Leo. And obviously because we have the same rising sign, if you look at it from whole sign, we have the same placements of those planets as well. So very, very interesting. So just being born during that time, I mean, this lunation creates a tumultuous and chaotic life. People born on lunar eclipses tend to invoke really strong feelings in other people. And people tend to really either like them or not like them at all. And there's very few people in between, especially if they have a Leo rising. I think that just adds to that personally. But, when you're born on a lunar eclipse, there's a difficulty finding the balance between emotion and logic, emotion and ego, your internal private life and your external life. There is such a pull in multiple directions, which creates ultimately that chaos. If you look at some other celebrities who are born during a solar eclipse, like Prince William, Scarlett Johansson, we can see that they are still very impactful, but they don't tend to invoke the same like guttural response from people. Also, another fun fact, King Charles and Princess Catherine also were born on lunar eclipses. And we can see, obviously, with specifically King Charles, a very tumultuous life. Isn't that interesting that he was born on a lunar eclipse, Princess Kate was born on a lunar eclipse, and Prince William was born on a solar eclipse. I'm going on a huge side note here, but I just think it's interesting to see what prominent figures have these lunations in their birth charts and how that can help us understand even what happens during these times. So getting back on track, because there are no fire signs, we may be collectively feeling kind of low energy or bored. Fire energy brings passion, it's enthusiastic and energetic, and we may be feeling like there isn't a lot of that in our lives right now. Or even if we look collectively, because it depends on your own chart, but if we look at the world collectively, it seems like everything is just is feeling like foundational and emotional. And of course there's air signs there, but it really feels like that intensity of like passion and desire and drive is kind of cooling down a little bit right now, which is not bad, right? Like we're gonna have fire energy come back soon, and from now until then, we can just think like, what can we do with all this fire and earth energy and even air energy? Well, we can tune into our feelings and focus on our foundations, which I think is honestly like what this lunar eclipse is really asking us to do, right? Like it's asking us to look at our intuition and our physical reality and strike a better balance between that. If you have 22 degrees to 28 degrees of mutable signs or points, Gemini, Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, this is going to be impacting you more directly. And like I said before, for all Cancers, especially Cancer risings who are ruled by the moon, you will definitely be feeling this as well. Now let's talk a little bit about the Sabian symbol for 26 degrees of Pisces, which is rounding up from the 25 degrees of Pisces that this lunar eclipse is happening in. And it is a new moon that divides its influence. So what does this mean? It means that you may be unsure or uncertain if something will work out, or you're going back and forth on a decision you must make. Now, what's interesting is, like I said, I talked about this in the September horoscopes, which I'll link down below if you still haven't watched that or if you need a refresher, that September felt like it was a slower, more powerful month, and it had something to do with decisions because I got the Two of Swords in the tarot, collective tarot card reading. So it's coming up in this eclipse strongly. This degree is about experimentation, choosing to be an active participant in life, even if you don't know exactly how to do it. The advice is that your best option is to choose an option and to go with it on a trial basis. The warning for this is to avoid making permanent commitments at this time. Guard against vacillating too much and then not having a say in the matter. In other words, be proactive, which is what I feel like Mars squaring the nodes is asking for you to do, but also the intuition of Pisces and Neptune and the eclipse. It's asking you to become an active participant. And interestingly, in this September horoscope overview video that I did, when you see the Two of Swords, which is what came up and what made me believe that September was about making a big decision, she is blindfolded. And so the hard part about the Two of Swords is that people don't want to make a decision because they don't feel like they have enough facts. They don't feel like they know what to do. And the advice card that I got was the Queen of Wands, which was be courageous. And this is just coming up in the Sabian symbol of this lunar eclipse, and as well as the collective tarot reading that I did for this lunar eclipse as well. So very interesting how it's all kind of tying together, and it's pointing to very similar themes of tuning in and becoming proactive about what we want to do in our lives, where we want to go, even if we don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet. Just taking the first step and experimenting with it. All right, so I did also do a collective tarot card reading for this lunar eclipse in Pisces. And I said, what is the collective energy of this lunar eclipse in Pisces? That's what I was asking the cards. And what I got immediately was the Three of Pentacles. And then it was clarified by the Five of Wands and the Six of Swords. So as I meditated on this, I was reminded that there's a description of the Three of Pentacles by Stephanie Caponi that I really like, which is prosperous expansion is at your fingertips as you confidently walk through new doors of opportunity. So when I thought about it from there, this is where I was saying earlier that like the relational aspect came through for this. Number one, if we even just think about the Three of Pentacles, the three is always the number of creativity, and it's also like coming together to create something. So as we can see here, it's they're working together towards a vision. And this card, because it's in the Pentacles, that's why it's prosperous, because generally it's a new direction that is going to be in some way financially successful. But regardless, because it's a three, it's really learning how to work together in order to get there. So prosperous expansion is at your fingertips as you confidently walk through new doors of opportunity. Now, when these two clarified it, there's lots of ways that you can take this, okay? And I'll see how many of them I want to talk about. But this particular way of thinking about it really, to me, coincided with the Mars squaring the nodes in Cancer. And that's that, you know, the Five of Pentacles is a card of conflict and competition. And then we've got the Six of Swords, which the sixes are about harmony. And swords are about thought, communication. But the six is starting a healing journey and a belief that the worst is behind you, because as you can see, he is moving away from difficult waters into smooth water. And so it's kind of like the beginning of a healing journey. Now, this can also actually mean like travel of some sort that could be healing for you. As I just said that, I recognize that I am just a few days after this eclipse, I am going on a silent meditation retreat again. So, which I highly recommend. I mean, I guess it's not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. I love silence. And it's hard to find in my everyday life, you know? Like, I'm not the best at making sure that I get as much silence as I need. I think I just require a lot of silence. And yeah, anyway. So those two coming together, and then keeping in mind Mars in Cancer squaring the nodes, right? Feels very much to me that there is a feeling that you need to stand up for yourself, right? This is conflict and competition. And assert your position and boldly go in the way that you want to go, or the things that you need to do, right? Like we kind of just talked about. And also recognizing that maybe conflict isn't the only way to deal with everything. Like it feels like there is a healing that's happening on a collective level towards how we approach conflict and competition that is then allowing us to work towards prosperous expansion. This is a very expansive card together. So I love that for us. And I think that the way forward, if we're going to do it this way, is to let go of resentment, let go of any negativity that's attached to other previous people or previous events, because it's really time to move forward. It's really time to move on. And this makes me feel like there is a positive outcome ahead. Actually, you know what? I just said that, and then now I feel like I want to actually pick an outcome card. But yeah, it feels like there's a new beginning that's happening, and it's time to let go of the past. Specifically past resentments of people, grudges that you have. This is very much Mars and Cancer squaring the nodes. It's so much of that. And picking up on the Venus opposing Chiron. Lilith with a South Node. All these relational energies, and the fact that it's a full moon, very much relational in nature, like I said. So it's really like this balance of like becoming more balanced in how we assert ourselves, North Node in Aries, versus how we can work harmoniously with other people for positive solutions. That's a South Node in Libra. And Mars squaring that. So let's just get an outcome card. I don't want to go super into it, but for this lunar eclipse, what's an outcome card? I got the moon. So I feel like the outcome is and the new beginning and the positive outcome that's to come from us doing that work that I just mentioned is actually just us being more in tune with our emotional body. Being more intuitive, not even in tune with our emotional body, just being more in tune with our higher alignment, whatever that means for us. Listening to our intuition. The moon is ruled by Neptune, which is conjuncting the moon in Pisces during this eclipse. So it feels like there is it's just like everything I was saying earlier about the North Node moving into Pisces next year, this push towards us exploring more of our intuitive abilities, more of our emotions. And the moon is really interesting because it's so big. This card is so big about the unknown. A lot of people say that the moon card is about confusion, and that can be true. Once again, Neptune can cause a fog, and we may not be sure of what's happening. And when the moon card comes up in a reading, a lot of times we'll say, hey, don't make any like big decisions right now because you may be clouded, which is kind of on par to what I was saying with the Sabian symbol, saying don't make any permanent commitments. Instead, step slowly into the unknown and experiment. It's more so, where do I feel called to move towards? How can I do that? Understanding that I may not have all of the answers. There may be some fogginess around it right now. I actually think this card is really perfect because had it been something like the sun or the emperor or something, pushing us to move into something full force, super assertive, I don't think that's what a lunar eclipse in Pisces is asking of us, right? Like, it's very much, like I said, in an internal, subjective, emotional shift. The decision is very much internal. The shift is very much internal, okay? So, I think that is all I have to say. And with that being said, I will start the all signs portion of the reading. So I'll see you guys there. All right, so for my Aries, sun, rising, moon, whatever, I read for your rising sign, but feel free to read it for any Aries you have in your chart that you feel like it will be applicable to. This lunar eclipse is happening in your 12th house. Now make sure that you check out my monthly horoscope overview to see how this eclipse fits in within that context. You can also, I have a video that does the horoscopes for each sign during that month too. But for this one specifically, I'm feeling the overview is important, at least the tarot card reading. So this lunar eclipse is the culmination of whatever was began in your 12th house around March 10th of this year. Now, obviously this lunar eclipse is about so much more, and specifically for you guys, I always say Aries, please listen to the beginning intro part of this video because I give a lot of context about what this is about, and because it's falling in your house of Pisces, in the sign of Pisces, I think it hits different for my Aries rising people to listen to the beginning part of all my videos. Or any video, really. So something that was began in your 12th house in March is coming to a culmination, or you're going to get an illumination. Now, this is like the house of enlightenment. So it really could be something about you getting this like aha moment. Whenever we have anything happening in the 12th house, it's coming from your subconscious, right? Because the 12th house is solitude, limiting belief patterns, self-sabotage, subconscious thoughts, spirituality, things that are invisible to us, overseas travel. So it could be something with overseas travel that you're completing. Maybe you planned a trip, now you're actually going on the trip. But I feel like for you guys specifically, I think that last time that I talked to you guys, maybe, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it was last time or if it was the September horoscopes, but I think for you guys, it's really about starting a new venture that's more spiritually aligned. And I don't want to say that that's businesses for everybody, but, you know, Pluto is in your 10th house for the final time in your life. So maybe for a lot of you guys, it is about a new venture that's going to get you money, but I don't think that's how you're experiencing it or what is being asked of you during this time. Because the messages that I brought for you guys through the tarot was the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands. So you could be receiving some sort of a message from somebody around this time. But the Page and Knight of Wands are very, even though they're court cards in tarot, they're very much like the beginning of a venture. Like, they're excited to embark on something new. And so it's not like the King and Queen in which they've kind of integrated integrated these qualities into themselves and are expressing them in more mature ways. It's a very fresh energy. And so it feels like for you guys, it's about moving with a renewed sense of passion in a new direction. Now, during this time, you also have Venus in your 7th house of Libra opposing Chiron in your 1st house. This is more important for you and Libras, obviously, than other signs. So this nodal cycle since July of 2023, so really the last year, there's been a lot of emphasis on you. And so when there's a lot of emphasis on you, then relationships have to take a back seat. Like, even if you have tons of relationships in your life, they still have to take a back seat to like you being on a mission to figure out what direction you're going to, what direction you want to move towards. And I think this opposition that's happening, this is going to be bringing up some wounding around that whole situation, how your relationships have changed in the last year and couple of months, how you've decided to move differently in them, and how you've decided to kind of learn to put yourself first. And I know people are saying like, well, it's Aries, of course, like that's what Aries is about, is putting themselves first. But I don't know, like, I look at signs, and I think this is how we should all look at signs and houses, as 6 pairs. So I look at Aries as being on the opposition side of Libra. So obviously, yes, Aries tend to be on the Aries side, where they're moving forward and they're assertive and they're about the self and starting new things. But I think maybe Chiron and Aries for the last several years has made you have to reevaluate and re-envision how you go about that. Because Chiron being in Aries is like bringing up a lot of wounding around that independence, around that self-assertion. And so you guys have kind of gone through the ringer in that sense. Is like, how do I move towards being my Aries self when that seems to like tap into like some sort of collective wounding at the time? So when Venus is opposing Chiron and Aries, I think during this eclipse, I think you guys are gonna get a little bit more information, and maybe that's coming from your subconscious, and that's being illuminated with Pisces in your 12th house, along with Neptune and Saturn. So really, what questions I would ask myself is like, what are you letting go of in your 12th house, in your subconscious beliefs, in your limiting beliefs, in your grief and solitude? What are you letting go of? And what's being illuminated for you? Maybe something is being illuminated for you and allowing you to then let something go so something new can come in, right? So Aries, let me know how that resonates for you guys, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. One last thing that I thought about after I concluded that was like, it makes sense that the tarot picked up such an action-oriented and decisive combo for you guys, because Mars, your ruler, is squaring your sign, the North Node in your sign, and Venus in your, and I'm sorry, the South Node and Venus in your opposite sign, 7th house. So it makes sense that it was active, it came up as an activating, like you're ready to really move forward with new opportunities. You're really ready to put your perspective in a different, because the wands, to me, like I said, it's not really about money. It's about a renewed sense of self, a renewed sense of passion and intuition and drive and desire to build something different, to take an opportunity on during this time. Okay? That's all I want to say. All right? Okay, I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Taurus, Sun, Rising, Moon, I'm going to read for your rising sign. You can feel free to read from whichever position works for you. This lunar eclipse is happening in your 11th house. Now, make sure you check out the monthly horoscope to get the overview for this month and see how this eclipse fits within that context. And also make sure to watch the first part of my video. I give a lot of information to help you understand holistically what this eclipse is about. Now, for you guys, this is a culmination of something that was started on March 10th in your 11th house. So what is the 11th house rule? The 11th house is friend groups, online communities, clubs, your hopes and wishes for the future, groups, supportive groups of people, humanitarian efforts, large organizations, technology, and any money that you make from your career or from the 10th house. So what I feel for you, specifically because I got the Four of Wands and the Page of Swords for your guys' messages. The Four of Wands, whenever it comes up, is a card that is like you're at a point in your journey where you've created some sort of a foundation. So whether that's in your 11th house of community, friends, groups, hopes and wishes for the future, humanitarian efforts, it doesn't have to be. But you've created some sort of a foundation and you're at a point where you can just sit back and really celebrate how far you have come, right? It's not over. It's not the 10, you know, but it is a point where it is a card of celebration. So it is a card of like looking back and just enjoying and appreciating yourself for how much you have done in whatever part of this chart this is leaning you towards. But for you, I think it's the 11th house. Now, the 11th house is a supportive house. So during this time, there may be some sort of a culmination of something that you started in March. It's coming to a peak, or you're, taking it into or you're getting illuminated by about something about your friends or about the communities that you're a part of. And that's allowing you to take things into a different direction. And this shift is happening within you first, and you're making a decision based on this information to decide where you want to kind of take this, right? Because, like I said, for the tarot, I got the Four of Wands and the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords is really good for like fresh insights, fresh beginnings, and the Page is a novice. So and also a messenger. So whenever a page comes up, it also always tells me that you may receive some sort of a message that will help you make the decision that you need to make, but also that you are a novice right now. So you've like created a foundation, but you're still not just like staying there. You're learning new skills. You're wanting to learn new things. You're wanting to increase your knowledge. And it's coming from a place of excitement and a fresh perspective, like new eyes. And so it's like a new beginning from a foundation that you've built. And this could be related to your 11th house, like I said. So friends, groups, hopes and wishes for the future. So this could really look like you had a certain vision, you had a certain hope for your future in March, and now it's shifting. Or it could be that, you met a new friend, or friend doesn't really fit here as much. I would say friend groups more so. Or, groups of people who support you. Maybe you started a new community or started a new group, and now you're taking it to a new direction, or you're showing up differently or something like that. Venus is also going to be at this time in Libra, opposite Chiron in Aries. I talked about that more in the beginning part of this video. For you guys, Libra is your 6th house and Chiron is your 12th house. So this is very health oriented, actually. And I think that Chiron in your 12th, Chiron being in your 12th is really been pushing you guys towards finding spiritual healing. Chiron anywhere is kind of this like wound that never heals, right? So it's not a bad thing. We just have to get okay with understanding that like the point of Chiron isn't for us to get to an end point. It's to continue healing, discovering, healing others. Healing, discovering, healing others. It's just continue the cycle. So for you guys, it may be that, something's coming to a head between your health issues and your subconscious. And maybe you're kind of balancing this out. Maybe Okay, I just got something. Maybe like there have been health issues that you've been kind of like, okay, it's not a big deal because you have South Node in the 6th house. You're like, it's not a big deal. You know, I'm going to continue working on my spiritual stuff. And around this time, it's coming to a point where you're like, okay, I think I actually like have to start doing some stuff for my physical too, though, because I've kind of been neglecting that. Yeah, and so ask yourself questions like, what is being culminated that was began March 10th at this time? What are you letting go of? What is being illuminated for you? Those are good questions to ask. Taurus, let me know how this resonates. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, my fellow Geminis. So I'm going to be reading this for Gemini risings. I'm a Gemini sun. If you're sun, moon, stellium, and Gemini, you want to read for that, that is totally up to you. And if it works, it works, you know? So this eclipse is happening in your 10th house. We've been talking about your 10th house a lot because you have had Neptune there since 2011 and Saturn's been in there since 2023. So make sure that you guys check out your monthly horoscope to get an understanding of what this whole month is about for you and how this fits into that. If you haven't already listened to that video, I'll have it linked below. This lunar eclipse is a culmination of something that was began in your career, in your public legacy, in your reputation, in your public status, that was began on March 10th of 2024, around that time. And so this could be, like I said, a culmination, so something coming to fruition, reaching its peak. And it could also be something being illuminated for you that you are now understanding is needs to change. Okay, let's not forget. As I mentioned in the beginning of my video, which make sure you listen to the beginning aspect of this video because I go so in depth and I feel like there's just so much more to it than just your horoscopes, right? I can't do everything I did for the beginning of the video for every sign. But it's very important in my opinion. And I talked about how for you guys, for Cancers, for Virgos, Sagittarius, and Pisces, I got major arcana cards. The only one that fell, and those are the ones that would be most affected by this lunar eclipse. Aquarius also got it too, though. Got a major arcana, but nobody else did. What you guys got was death and judgment. I don't know how to adequately explain to you how significant of a transformation this can be for you guys. The death card with judgment. This is you stepping into taking responsibility for your life and for your calling in life because it's happening in your 10th house, you guys. Like, this is crazy. Now, you get to make this decision, right? Like, you get to, like I said in the beginning of the video, it's like with the Sabian symbol, I'm not saying that if you don't make the decision, some way the decision is going to be made for you, but like maybe. And so being proactive about this transformation that's really needing to happen in your life, because the death card, as we know, is a major arcana, which means that it is a transformation, a significant transformation. Then we have it paired with another major arcana, judgment, which is all about taking responsibility and moving towards your calling in life. It's like a increase in expansion of it's an expansion of consciousness. It is a chance for us. It's very karmic, it feels like. And the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn and Saturn, which is a karmic area of our lives. So here's what I'm going to say. I don't think this eclipse can be put in the categories of like positive or negative ever. But what I will say is that if you have not been proactive in your 10th house, your career, your public reputation, your public status, your calling in the world, which I think for a lot of Gemini, especially Gemini risings, is moving towards service and has been for a long time, a service-oriented career. If you have not been doing the things that you need to do, because it's a judgment card involved here, you're going to have to take responsibility for that during this time, okay? Not bad, not good, but it may come to a point where something boils over or someone outside of you has to then make the decision for you, and the death card still happens, but you get less say in it, right? When the judgment card comes up, it's telling me that you guys want a more authentic life in your career. You want your legacy to be more authentic to who you are. I almost just started crying. I feel like this has been really hard for you guys. So here's what I'm saying. You can move towards the life that you want, the career and the legacy, because the 10th house is so much about legacy. The legacy that you want. There may be some past decisions that weren't in alignment. You may have to deal with some consequences of that. That's okay. That happens. We can still choose to move forward and utilize the death card as a beautiful, positive transformation that is essential for our growth and evolution, for what we are doing in this world. Okay? I didn't even talk about some other stuff I want to talk about, but I think that is what you guys needed to hear. Yeah. So Gemini, let me know how that resonates for you guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, so for my Cancer risings, you can also read this for Cancer sun, moon, stellium if you'd like. I read it from the rising sign though. Make sure you guys check out your monthly horoscope as well if you haven't already, or if you need a refresher in order to get a better understanding of how what I'm about to say fits into the context of what this month is really about. And also make sure you listen to the first part of this video, because you guys are ruled by the moon, so lunations are very strong and powerful for you, which is why I got a major arcana for you guys, even though you're not a mutable sign. But, and these are, you know, this is affecting mutable signs the most, but this just affirmed to me that this is going to be important for Cancers as well. So I talk a lot more in depth about all of that in the beginning part of this video. So this solar eclipse, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say solar eclipse, not quite yet. This lunar eclipse is happening in your 9th house. Now, we had a new moon here around March 10th in Pisces in your 9th house. And during that time, a process might have started. You may have planted some sort of a seed. And this would be in regards to higher education, your philosophy on life, wisdom, law, spirituality, religion, long distance or foreign travel, expanding your consciousness, your belief systems, publication if you're publishing something, expanding your horizons, exploring and trying to find meaning and truth and wisdom in life. So this could very much look like you wanted to start a new program and get your master's, and now it's coming to a culmination and you are beginning that. Actually, this would be perfect timing because this is around the time that school starts, right? It's been a long time since I've been in formal school, but and I'm feeling the itch. But yeah, so you might have started doing that, or you may have started the journey and now you're being illuminated to something regarding that situation that makes you want to change directions. This, like I said, could also apply to anything that's happening legally that started back in March. Could be coming to a culmination or a peak, or you could be, if you're involved in any sort of like legal battle, there could be some sort of illumination to something. For you guys, I got the 3 of Pentacles and the Star card for your tarot for the messages for this. The 3 of Pentacles is actually the collective card that I got, so that's very interesting that it just shows that you're very connected to this lunar eclipse. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe I got the Star card for the last reading I did, or maybe your September reading. It wasn't that long ago that I got a Star card for you guys, which, like, once again is just reaffirming that you guys have kind of been through it. Some sort of like belief crisis has happened. positivity crisis has happened. Like that you're not finding, it's getting more difficult to find joy and meaning and wisdom and truth in your lives. But I think that you're still getting these inklings of hope and inspiration. Like you're not quite completely down on your luck. And this star just reaffirms that. But I also wonder, like, what's going on with the Three of Pentacles, because the Three of Pentacles is like a collaborative effort and it's about prosperous expansion, but it's generally meaning that we have to learn how to cooperate with others. And so I'm wondering if something is coming up around that right now in which you guys are being pushed to learn how to collaborate with other people in a new way that will actually be a foundation for you to regain hope and trust. Now, this could look like in the universe, hope and trust in the universe. I have a tendency to like not finish my thoughts because they like a new one just comes in really fast. You know, you guys just had in April the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in your 11th house. And Uranus and Jupiter was in Taurus, you know, for its year, and Uranus is still there. So changes are still happening in your 11th house, which is like your groups, your friends, organizations you belong to. And then you've also got the North Node in your 10th house, which is being squared right now by Mars in your first house. So what I feel like is happening is that there is an urge. Mars in your first house is an urge to like assert yourself, which is not a bad thing. But I think for you guys specifically, it's coming through that like when you are asserting yourself, I just feel like you guys need to listen to the beginning part of this video, especially the part where I talk about tarot. Everything I said applies to you guys because it's about asserting yourself and yet learning how to work with other people at the same time, okay? And I feel like you guys are taking a much more spiritual perspective on this and in your life in general. Yeah, it just feels like you're starting to really look at your work specifically from a more spiritual perspective. That doesn't mean you're getting into spiritual work. You could be, but it feels more like your lens has changed. Your belief system is changing, and something that comes up around this lunar eclipse may be part of that, okay? So let me know how that resonates for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, so for my Leo risings and suns and moons, I will be reading this for your rising sign, but you can read it from whichever placement you'd like. Make sure you guys check out your monthly horoscope for September to see how this lunar eclipse fits into that context. Now, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 8th house, and there was a new moon in Pisces in March 10th in the same part of your chart. So could be related to that. And I'll tell you what the 8th house is about. The 8th house is the house of Scorpio and the house of transformation, of learning to give and take, the balance of that, deep emotional intimacy with another. It's about shared resources. It's about money that's not yours generally. So inheritances, like you didn't earn it. Inheritances, loans, your partner's money, things like that. It can also be addictions, death and rebirth, mystery, secrets, the occult, the psyche, right? So what was going on within those realms around March 10th that is now coming back up to be culminated on this lunar eclipse? Now, what could also be happening is that there could be an illumination towards something that inevitably causes you to cease being in one way or doing one thing and decide to go in a different direction. the information that can come up during a lunar eclipse is generally quite powerful. Now make sure you listen to the first part of this video where I go super in depth about what this lunar eclipse is about. I think you'll have a hard time, in my opinion, understanding your horoscope without understanding what this lunar eclipse is really trying to do, right? Because you can look up what is happening in your 8th house, but if you don't understand exactly what's happening with this lunar eclipse, then it's not gonna make as much of an impact, in my opinion. The tarot card I got for you guys, I got 2. The messages I got were 9 of Pentacles and the 2 of Wands. Now, this could honestly, just like on a mundane level, look like you've been like waiting for a loan, it comes through. Your partner's been waiting on money, it comes through. But on a deeper level, like I said, this is the house of like intimacy and give and take with another being on a deep level. Healing, psychology, psyche. So like if you've been involved in anything that's dealing with going into the psyche, so like therapy or any therapeutic modalities, spirituality, astrology, anything like that, you may see a culmination of that coming to you at this time. There's no way to tell if this is a negative or positive thing, right? And we can always, that's very subjective. We can always work with what we have to find the opportunities that we need regardless of what's actually happening. So questions to ask yourself are what are you being illuminated to? What is coming up for completion? What do you need to let go of now? Like I said, on a deeper level for you guys, I feel like this part of your chart has been under some like limitation because of Saturn's presence there since March of 2023. And it's really causing Leos to have to learn to relate to another person in a very mature way, and Saturn's just giving us the lessons to do that. But what's going to happen is we're going to have the North Node come in here next, right? And so we're going to have Saturn and the North Node in here at the same time. And the South Node in your 2nd house. So here's what I'm feeling with the tarot: 9 of Pentacles, 2 of Wands. You're being given an opportunity to learn to enjoy the luxuries of the material world in a different way, because you're about to have the South Node go into your 2nd house. And the South Node going into your 2nd house doesn't mean that you're going to lose money. It really doesn't. Like I always talk about, the South Node going into a house doesn't mean that that area of your life is going to suck. It just means that regardless, that part of your chart and you're going to feel very detached from it. Even if it's going good, it's kind of like, okay, cool, you know. If it's going bad, there's less, wherever the North Node is where you're going to be ravenous, right? Like learning more and doing more and wanting more, because the North Node is Rahu, and Rahu has a head and no body. So it's just like, oh, let's go do this. Let's go do this. It's seeing directions, but it doesn't have the body to fully follow through with any of them. And it's kind of not meant to, right? Like that's why it's just a head. And the South Node, or Ketu, is just a body with no head. So there's no direction. There's no, we're not sitting there and putting our conscious will towards something. It's almost like things just happen, you know. It's like you get the new job, you get increased income. You're not really sure how it happened, but it doesn't really matter because you're feeling kind of disconnected from it. Okay, so anyway, I love the nodes. They're so interesting. It's so interesting to really dissect these things. So I feel like what's happening is like, yes, self-care, you know, Leo, especially Leo risings, but also Leo suns, moons. There is a level of like, we like to take care of ourselves, and that could look different for everyone. I really don't like the idea that because you're a Leo rising, you're like glamorous and like love to spend tons of money. You know, I didn't wear makeup for like five years. Yeah, I didn't wear makeup for 5 years. I haven't done my hair in like 8 years, but I like to like take care of myself in ways that maybe aren't as glamorous. Like we all have our own ways of doing that. Like maybe nourishing yourself with really good food doesn't mean that all Leo risings are like getting their hair done and getting pedicures and getting their makeup done all the time. But what it's saying is that, like, I think that you're being given an opportunity to make a decision on, and you don't have to make the decision right now, but it's for sure going to come up soon. So you might as well be proactive. Because if you listen to the beginning of the video, that's what I talked about, is being proactive. I think this lunar eclipse is going to bring an opportunity for you to make a decision to view finance, luxury, and success in a much different way. Yeah, that's really what it feels like. And I don't want to like tell you how that's going to change, because I don't honestly know, right? Like, I don't know where you're at now. I don't know where it's going to go. You know, I don't know. Something needs to change there. Something needs to change. Either you're not luxuriating enough. You're not indulging enough in what you've created and celebrating it enough, or you're doing it a little too much. And so the Two of Wands is a card about making a plan, making a decision, and planning, which is really great. It's not a great time for action anyways right now, but making a decision and taking small steps towards that and seeing how that goes for you. I feel like my Leo readings are always so long, so okay, I'm done. Like and subscribe, please. I hope this resonates. Let me know down in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time, Leos. All right, so for my Virgo sun, rising, moon, I'm going to read this for Virgo risings, but you can feel free to read it for whichever placement you'd like. Now, this is obviously a big one for you because you are a Virgo, especially if you have anything between 22 degrees and 28 degrees of Virgo or any other mutable signs. And I also did get a major arcana card for you guys, so it kind of makes sense. Now, I do want to say, though, that if you have not already listened to the first part of this video, I highly recommend that you do so, because I give a lot of information, and because this is impacting you guys so strongly, I think it's important for you guys to understand what is actually really happening with this lunar eclipse. I also advise that you listen to your monthly horoscope video, because that's going to give you some context around what this month is about and how this lunar eclipse fits into that, okay? So, Virgos, lunar eclipse in your 7th house. You have Saturn, Neptune, and the moon in your 7th house at this time, and you have Sun and Mercury in your 1st house. So, your relationships are very much up in the air, right? Like, Sun moving into Virgo and Mercury in Virgo, where it's exalted, is giving you like what you kind of like, which is energy to be you. And then the moon, Neptune, and Saturn are sitting in your 7th house of relationships. So the 7th house is others, relationships, business partners, any equal partnerships, and also your interpersonal style. And I always talk about the 7th house as a projection house. I've talked about this multiple times before. I'm not going to go super into it now. But I want you to think back regarding your relationships. What was going on in around March 10th specifically of 2024, regarding your relationships, interpersonal style, others in general, and how you relate to them. And during this full moon eclipse, it may be coming to some sort of a culmination. So something that began may be coming to a peak now, and that could be, you could get illuminated something. So if you met a new partner, you were dating somebody, you may now understand something, and you have a decision to make on whether or not you want to move forward or not, or you want to do this or you want to do that. It could also just be that, you set an intention to meet a new partner, and now around this time you're going to be meeting that new partner. It could go in so many different ways, but there's some sort of a link between something that started March and is now culminating here. Now, for the tarot, I got for you guys the Fool and the Page of Swords. So immediately I was like, holy crap, because the pages are very, they're like novice, okay? And it's very novice and naive. So you may be getting some sort of a message. I could see like a ex or something messaging you, or some sort of a, you getting a message from your partner that like illuminates you in some way or shocks you in some way, or you getting a message from a prospective partner, like something like that. Pages are messengers. But you also have the Fool, which is the very beginning of the major arcana, is the 0 card. So when we are at that stage, it is very much about beginning a whole new cycle, okay? This is a whole new cycle that's beginning for you. And that combined with the Page of Swords, which is fresh perspectives, fresh outlooks, learning new things, tells me that you are starting such a brand new cycle. You are leaping off into the unknown in terms of your relationships, in terms of how you relate to other people. There is so much energy for you to do this in a brand new way. And I actually caught a wind of or just a quite glimpse of the bottom of the deck for you guys, which is the 10 of Cups, which is like ultimate emotional satisfaction and generally has a lot to do with relationships. It's celebrations. The 10 is the completion card. So seeing the 10 of Cups says that like you have available to you this, it could be like marriage or something, you know, you get proposed to or something like that. But really it's beneath those mundane things. It's the understanding that you are going towards or you have achieved this level of emotional satisfaction that if you look back to March of this year was not even in your sights. You did not think this was going to be remotely possible. And you may be learning new skills during this time or around this time. Like, so eclipses are 6 month events. So it doesn't have to be on September 17th that this happens, right? But generally I would say within like a week or two after, you're going to get the inkling. You're going to get the signs. You're going to see the beginnings of this. And for you guys, it feels like you're wanting to learn new skills. It feels like you're wanting to broaden your horizons through learning. And the Fool is saying that you're a beginner. Like you're starting something so new, you guys. Like, and I can't say that it's just in your 7th house. The eclipse is happening in your 7th house. But when I did the tarot, I didn't ask what's going on in the 7th house. I asked, what messages do Virgos need to hear? There is very new energy coming into your lives, very new beginner energy. And like I said, significant because it's the Fool. You are starting some sort of a new cycle in something. And I really want to know what this is, Virgos, because I know that having Saturn in the 7th has not been like super fun for you guys. And I just want to let you know the nodes are going to be moving into your sign in January. So this eclipse is going to be a preview of what the next 2.5 years of eclipses are going to look like. I mentioned this a lot in the beginning part of this video. I talked about that more in depth, so make sure you watch that. But yeah, the nodes moving into your 1st and 7th house. Very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. The North Node's going to be in your 7th house. South Node's going to be in your house. So I'm really excited for Virgos, especially Virgo risings, but really all Virgos, because I really do feel like there's been a lot of stagnation in your life. And I feel like you're coming out of that slowly but surely. Okay? Let me know how that resonates for you guys. And make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Libra risings, you can also read this for Libra sun, moon, or whatever feels good to you. I just read it for the rising signs. Make sure that you guys check out your monthly horoscope first. I'll have that link down below so you can understand in what context this lunar eclipse has meaning for this month in particular. They actually kind of go well with each other, and I feel like when I did the monthly reading, I was picking up a lot on this lunar eclipse. If you haven't already listened to the first part of the video, I highly recommend you do that because it's important. Because that's where I go really in depth into the actual eclipse. And then for the all signs, I just do a little bit of tarot and a little bit of astrology, of course. So this lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house of Pisces. Now on March 10th, there was a new moon in Pisces that is going to come up to be culminated during this time, or that is going to be, you're going to be illuminated to something regarding that thing. Now, the 6th house is a house of hard work. It's a house of sacrifice. It's your work environment. It's your health, illness, diet, pets, giving service to another. It's your digestive system. It's a sense of usefulness, and it's like your daily routines that you have. So, did you start a new job? Did you start a new health routine? Did you start a different daily routine back in March? Did you make a decision to here's a good one, because I can use a personal example for this. Did you decide to make a better mind-body connection? And I can say a personal example because my partner is a Libra rising. Now, I can't tell you for sure that he made an intention around March or something began in March. I literally just came to my mind right now. But what I can say is that he is doing a week-long meditation retreat with me. And so that's not anything he's done before. And that's very much indicative of like mind-body connection, and it's happening within a week of this eclipse. So just very interesting. Yeah, like having a balance between taking care of the body and taking care of the soul, right? Because the 6th house is the body, and the 12th house, where you guys have Virgo, where the sun is right now. So this is technically your guys' 12th house season, which means that you may be feeling a little bit more internal. You're not really, you're attending and putting your willpower towards back behind the scenes things. You're trying to figure things out before the sun moves into Libra and then it becomes your season. So if you're a Libra rising specifically, this is kind of a time for you to chill out, attend to your subconscious, meditation, silence, solitude, closure, grief, healing, all of these things. Now, especially important for you guys, you have Black Moon Lilith in your sign. You have Venus in your sign, you have South Node in your sign, and the Venus in your sign is opposing Chiron in your 7th house. Now, the last 6 years for you guys, since Chiron moved into Aries in 2018, have been incredibly healing and difficult in terms of relationships. Your partner, specifically for the last year, has probably, if you have a partner, business partner, romantic partner, best friend, I would say really a partner in your life has been growing a lot, has been moving towards their path a lot. And this may have made you kind of feel like happy for them, I'm sure, but also kind of like, what the heck? Why is it not about me? And this time just isn't really about that, right? It's about you learning how to deal with your relationships. So we all have different periods in our lives where it's about us or about our relationships or our home life or whatever. And for you, I mean, having Venus in your sign right now since late August, I think it was like August 28th that it moved into Libra. Since then, you've had the beautiful, pleasing Venus, which is your ruler, in your sign in your 1st house. So, there's been a desire for you to, maybe you've been feeling a little bit better. I mean, Sun and Mercury in the 12th can be kind of hard sometimes, but you've been feeling like you want more harmony, like you want peace, like more than usual, And so when it's opposing Chiron and Aries, I feel like around this eclipse, like something may be coming up for you guys regarding your partner or regarding your prospective partners or how you relate to other people. That is kind of going to be really big for you. Like, I feel like, because Chiron's finishing out its time in Aries. And so things are starting to kind of heat up a little bit to make sure that you're like getting the healing within relationships that you need. And I just think that Venus opposing Chiron and Aries, I feel like relationships are coming up big for you guys. And also having the Black Moon Lilith and Juno and Venus in your sign right now and the South Node. Wow, that's a lot of relational energy. Like, wow, Libras, let me know what's going on in your relationships down in the comments below. I'm actually really interested. Okay, so moving forward though, The tarot cards I got, the messages that I got from the tarot for you guys were the Four of Wands and the King of Pentacles. So now I'm starting to also believe that this sixth house thing that we're talking about is actually also something to definitely do with jobs, your work, or money in some way. So, you know, the sixth house, like I said, is a house of hard work. It's a house of sacrifice. So maybe in March you started working towards something new and you're getting the payoff for it now around this lunar eclipse. Give a couple of 2 to 3 weeks, but really the lunar eclipse is a 6-month cycle, but you should be seeing the peak of it within, I would say, like from the lunar eclipse to like 2 to 3 weeks after. And this is actually like a really nice thing. Like Four of Wands is a celebration. You have managed to create some sort of foundation for yourself that is not the end of the cycle for you, but it is a foundation. And so it's also a time for celebration. You may have something to celebrate around this time. You may have a celebration to go to around this time. But the fact that it's sitting with the King of Pentacles makes me also feel like there's been some sort of financial stability. Like maybe you have started a new journey that is going to put you on the path to more financial stability. And maybe you're not quite there yet. Maybe you are. But maybe you're not quite there yet. But regardless, you are on the way there. You are moving towards that. And I think what the tarot really wants you to recognize is that this King of Pentacles is such an embodiment of a like material abundance. And no matter where you are at the journey, especially because this lunar eclipse, like I feel like it has something to do about making an internal decision to do something. It feels like Libras, you guys are being pushed to really go for it. I'm getting the feeling that some Libras have been like kind of indecisive or started a new journey and you're not really quite sure about it, specifically about work, and you're thinking about vacillating. You guys listen to the first part of this video for sure. I don't know if I already told you guys that, but I talk a lot about that specifically with the Sabian symbol, about this vacillation. And you know, Libras, that's one of the things that you guys tend to do is like going back and forth, pros and cons. Or what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I do this? And especially when it comes to like building stability in your life right now, I want you to kind of try your hardest to really let go of these expectations and really just try your best to show up as best as you can. And that's all that you need to focus on right now, because I think you're headed somewhere. You're headed somewhere and you're like not really sure about it. And I think for you guys, it's the decision to really come to terms with that uncertainty. And yeah, I feel like you guys have a hard time with that, like not knowing what's gonna happen. Questions to ask yourself: what is being illuminated for you regarding your daily routines, your work, your health, your daily routine, your sense of usefulness, your responsibilities? Conflict can also be the sixth house. What's coming up for you that's being illuminated? What are you letting go of now that you have this new information? What is kind of coming to a culmination? Those are some questions to ask yourself. Let me know how this resonates for you guys. I will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. All right, so for Scorpios, I was gonna say Scorpio sun rising. You can do it for moon as well if you'd like. I'm gonna read it for the rising sign. Make sure that you guys check out your monthly horoscope to see how this reading can fit into the monthly horoscope, and give it some context. I also definitely recommend that you listen to the first part of the video, because I go really in depth into what this lunar eclipse is about, and I think it's really important to fully understand what I'm about to tell you. Now, this is happening in your fifth house. So your fifth house is a house of pleasure, creativity, joy, entertainment, self-expression, children, romance, love, dating, and dating type relationships. So it can signify, like, if you're in a committed relationship, the romance you guys share, right? Like, it's not, the dating aspect of that, the fun aspect of that love relationship. Now, on March 10th, something began to change there, or there was an intention set there. And I want you to look back over the last 6 months. You're going to see around this lunar eclipse that something's going to come to a culmination. Something's going to be illuminated, and you're going to look back and see how far you've come in this area of your life. This could come up in so many different ways. Maybe you and your partner decided to love each other in a different way. Maybe you decided that you wanted to bring more creativity into your life. How has that been going? How is that being culminated? Now, the thing with this lunar eclipse is that although, I talk a lot more about this in the beginning of the video, but although lunar eclipses are not generally time for us to take action, I definitely feel like there's an internal decision that needs to be made during this time. And for you guys, I feel like I got this card recently for you. No, I got a different card for you guys. Yeah, but it was a 6 card. I remember it was like 6 of Wands, I think you guys got. And now you're getting the 6 of Pentacles and the 8 of Swords. So, I'm just trying to see. There's something about like inequality in a relationship. There's something about inequality in a relationship that's coming up during this time. And there needs to be a change of like the give and take between the relationship. I'm not even sure astrologically how that fits, but it's just very intuitive. And of course the tarot kind of helped that too. But for some reason I'm getting relationships, and 6 of Pentacles is generally, it's a material world, so you can have relationships, but it's generally like, it's generally the 6 of Pentacles plus the 8 of Swords makes me feel like you're in some sort of financial situation where the give and take is uneven and you're unhappy with it. But the thing is, and I feel like people get mad when I say this sometimes, but it's just like, this is how I say things, and this is just how I feel. When I see the 8 of Swords, I wish I had the card. When I see the 8 of Swords, it's telling me that you are feeling stuck. Okay, so you're in some sort of financial situation in which you feel stuck. Now, this may have something to do with your 5th house, which is, like I said, creativity, hobbies, pleasure, joy, entertainment, love, romance, children, self-expression. You're feeling like that part of your chart is limiting you in some way, and you're feeling stuck. Well, there's the 6 of Pentacles. So like if we look at it literally, the 6 of Pentacles can mean that this is a time where you're either gaining or giving charity, and that's becoming big for you. You're it's about give and take on a material level. So it's financially, but I feel like for you guys it's relational in nature. I'm not sure why I'm getting that. What's going on? Is there something going on in your 7th house? Well, like I said in the beginning of this video, because of the Venus, the Venus opposition Chiron, I think on a collective level, everyone is dealing with these relational issues coming up. But I'm feeling it intuitively a lot for you guys, that's coming up, that there's some sort of inequality in the relationship that doesn't have to be financial. It can be emotional. It can be mental, right? We talk about how people in a relationship, like you have a physical load, you have an emotional load, you have a mental load, and any one of those can be imbalanced right now. And it's feeling like though you're feeling like trapped in this situation with the blindfold and everything. And yet, she's actually like not tied to any swords. So she's actually like not stuck there. But in her mind, she thinks she is. And so what this is pushing you towards is like, wherever you're feeling restriction in your life, wherever you're feeling restriction and stagnation and stuckness, I think the decision you have to make, because I said that this, we're dealing with some decisions, like I said, listen to the beginning part of this video, this internal shift to recognizing like you've kept yourself here. That's painful. That's painful to be like, you know, it's so easy for so long to like look and blame the other person. And I don't know. The cards are telling me that if there is any sort of inequality in your life right now, I would look to the subconscious self-limiting beliefs. Use things like therapy, astrology, tarot to understand why you have kept yourself in that position. Yeah. You know, I could say a lot more things, but I think that's good enough. I think you guys got the message. So let me know how that resonates for you guys, and make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. So for Sagittarius, Sun, Rising, Moon, I'm going to read this for Sagittarius Rising. You can read it for whichever Sagittarius placement you'd like. Now, of course, I talked about this in the beginning of the video, which I highly recommend you guys listen to. Really, everyone. I go into depth about what this lunar eclipse is about. There's a lot of, because it's directly impacting you, because it's squaring your sign, the sun and the moon are, and Mercury, and Neptune, and Saturn. I really just feel like you guys need to listen to that. And what's interesting as well is that I got major arcanas for you guys. So this is happening in your Pisces. Oh, also check out your monthly horoscope that I did for you guys. I'll link that down below, because that's going to give you some context, and so you can see how this lunar eclipse kind of is giving energy into like the month and how it's doing that. With the lunar eclipse in your 4th house, I want you to think back to March 10th of this year, or around that time, and just think about kind of what changes were happening regarding, or what seeds were being planted, or what was going on regarding your emotional foundation, your roots, your mom, your physical home, your internal home, your early childhood, your home life. What was going on or with those things that is now coming up for completion, culmination, or illumination to get some new information regarding these things? You may decide to move. You may decide that you want something changed within your home life. You may decide that, you know, maybe you were thinking about moving and now you're actually going to move. Maybe you were thinking about going to therapy and now you're deciding to go and explore your inner world more and unravel these childhood foundations, emotional foundations that you know are outdated, but you cannot, it feels like you cannot get through them, right? Because we have Saturn in the 4th house as well. For you guys, my messages through the tarot were the Death card and Justice. So death is always a significant transformation that's wanting to happen. The Justice card is very interestingly the Libra card. So Venus in Libra is in your 11th house. So I'm wondering if that is somehow, and it's opposing Chiron in the 5th. So I wonder if that's why, or if the Justice card, because that's the card of Libra, is pointing to that being important. Let's think about this. Now, the first thing I think of when I think of justice and death is that if you are, this is going to be very like particular Sagittarius people. If you are involved in any sort of legal matter or like a matter of justice in some way, so it doesn't have to be like the law necessarily, but it could be like working with HR or working with, you know, something like that, like working with your school advisors because there's been an unfair situation. Anything where there's like unfairness or perceived unfairness. The death and justice coming together could tells me that there may be soon a resolution to that or something coming up for that, an illumination of that, and that's going to create a massive transformation. Now, I can't say for sure who's on the right side here. I can't say for sure, you know, that justice will be on your side. But what I can say is that justice will be on the right side for this situation. So regardless of how that plan pans out, so whether or not you win or whether or not you lose, it brings with it a significant rebirth, death and rebirth. And I think that if you've been having a hard time lately, then specifically for you guys, like I said, I feel like it's within the internal home or the physical home. Okay. Saturn's been there. So it's not, it's kind of very much giving like depression. It's just, and it's trying to fortify you. But I feel like you've known for a long time that something needs to transform regarding this like justice system, this unfair thing that's happening. But you've been like putting it off or like having like little mini like transformations. But the death card is a major arcana card. So it's saying like, no, like it's not just like, okay, a little transformation. It's like, no, we're trying to transform the whole thing. We're trying to like bring a massive new rebirth into your life. Regardless, like less focus on the justice, more focus on taking responsibility regardless of the outcome and using that responsibility as a way to transform yourself at a very deep level. Also, just really quickly, the Venus in Libra opposite Chiron in Aries, you're really working through themes of how do I assert myself? How do I be myself? How do I express myself? And also find an organization or friend groups that allow me to be myself and yet are supportive of me too, and don't squash my desire to be who I am. This is things that are coming up during this time for you guys. Specifically, Chiron's been in your house of like dating, romance, creativity, self-expression, joy, pleasure, and so it's been there since 2018, I believe. Yeah, 2018 that Chiron moved in there. And so there's a lot of pain and a lot of healing happening about the self and self-expression. And now that Venus is in Libra, South Node is in Libra, there's really a question mark around what groups do I belong to? What communities are actually going to be supportive of me? And maybe you'll get some insight during this lunar eclipse. Yeah. So Sagittarius, let me know how that resonates for you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right. So for my Capricorn, Sun, and Rising, this lunar eclipse is happening in your third house. Make sure you guys listen to the first part of this video where I talk in depth about this eclipse so you can understand what it's more about. Also, if you haven't seen your monthly horoscope, I'll link that down below, or if you need a refresher of it, because you'll get some context as to how this eclipse fits in for this month. Now, with that being said, on March 10th, there was a new moon in Pisces in your third house. During that time, or around that time, there was an intention set or a seed was planted. And a lot of times this isn't even conscious. We can consciously choose to plant seeds, but a lot of times if we don't, the things that are happening around that time or the thoughts that we're having, especially for you because it's your third house, you'll notice, oh wow, I was having these thoughts before and now they're coming up again to be completed, to be culminated, to reach some sort of peak. And for you guys, it's about your immediate surroundings. It's about your neighbors, siblings, cousins. It's about your communication, your thoughts, your words. It's about skills and learning, your mind. I'm just thinking here, there's a lot going on because you guys also on the same day, Venus in Libra in your 10th house is opposing Chiron in Aries in your 5th house. I'm sorry, in your 4th house. So this tension between home life, internal life, and public life, work life are needing to be balanced. Now, you guys have a Chiron in the 4th house for like 6 years now. So there's been a lot of healing going on within the home. Now, that can be the physical home, or it can be like the internal home. So like lots of therapy or whatever you need to be doing in order to heal the emotional foundations that make you you. South Node has been, and North Node has been there as well. And the South Node's been in your 10th house. Maybe things are going good at work right now. Like Venus in Libra for you guys, like Venus in your 10th house. maybe things are like pleasant enough, you know. It feels like your home life is like what really has your attention though right now. I feel like you guys are okay. Let me tell you why I'm thinking right now is because for your tarot messages, I got the Ace of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles. So the Ace of Wands is like inspiration. It's a new idea. It's a new like burst of creativity, but really this new burst of inspiration. And it's very much like just that, right? Like we're not planning anything. We're not moving towards anything. It's just this like feeling of inspiration. And it came with Nine of Pentacles, which is about self-care and luxury and indulging ourselves because we've made a lot of material abundance. We have a material abundance in our lives, and that can look different for everybody. This lunar eclipse will show to you something about probably your communication. When I think of the third house, like I said, it has all these other meanings. For you guys, having Saturn there has made your communication, there's been a lot of lessons around communication, okay? I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. There's been a lot of lessons around communication. So like whereas before, you may not have seen consequences regarding how you communicate, there's more scrutiny now. There's more consequences because Saturn's there giving lessons. Of course, before it comes out in our, you know, from our mouths, it's thought in our heads. So this affects thoughts as well. And even before then, it's felt in our emotions. And you have Chiron in the 4th house with the North Node. So this is all like coming together for me. And you also have Mars in the 7th house, which I talked about. I would definitely recommend watching the Mars in the Cancer video for you guys because I talk so much about projection and anger regarding your relationships during this time. And if you haven't listened to that yet, I think it would be very helpful for you. This is seeming very relational in nature for you guys, but then the tarot is telling me that there's like a, you know what, I want to get one more thing because I'm trying to figure out like Ace of Wands and Nine of Pentacles. I get some simple meanings like a new way of indulging. A new understanding of how to take care of yourself and indulge in the successes that you made. The Nine of Pentacles is like, yeah, it's not the 10, it's not the ultimate abundance, but you've done quite a lot and you've been very successful. And this is kind of giving me this feeling like you need to take stock for what you've done and not just get down on yourself. Like I always say this, but Capricorn has this thing where there's like, all right, what, like very future oriented. It's not a bad thing, but sometimes we just need to recognize that we need to be in the present and see that we've done a lot so far. And maybe there's a spark coming in to show you that during this time. I just want to see if I can get one more message for Capricorns. Yeah, see, I don't know why. I mean, I guess it does make sense because Mars is in your 7th house. This is seeming very relational in nature for me. Like you guys are really dealing with communication with either your partners, people you live with, or your neighbors, siblings, cousins. There is like a desire to work something out and a desire to communicate in a way that may not be comfortable for you. Like maybe this is vulnerability. Maybe this is speaking from a place of intuition. I think I talked about it last time. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But that you guys don't generally lead with a lot of intuition. And I think that's changing. And because this lunar eclipse is about making new decisions, see if you can tune into this like internal shift that's allowing you to show up in a different way with your communication. Yeah. So let me know how that resonates for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. All right. So Aquarius, rising, sun, moon. I'm going to read this for your rising. You can read it for whichever placement feels good to you. In the beginning of this video, which I highly recommend you guys listen to, because I go very into depth about this eclipse, what it means in the long term, the tarot, the Sabian symbol. But I also talked about how you guys are the only ones, other than the 5 signs that I already knew were most likely going to be very impacted by this, who got major arcana cards for their tarot. So the tarot cards I got for you guys were Judgment and Strength. Wow. Okay, we're gonna weave that in, but let's just talk about the lunar eclipse first. So the lunar eclipse is happening in your second house of money, income, values, self-worth, self-esteem, physical resources, material possessions, how you spend money. And so this is a culmination from the new moon that we had in Pisces March 10th of this year. So, you know, this could very much look like you getting a raise, you maybe you started a new job and now it was like a side hustle and now you're starting to make money from it. That could very much come up. It could be something regarding your self-esteem, maybe something or how you value yourself. A new intention was set to increase your own sense of self-worth. And now that's coming to a culmination. You've been doing the work and you're seeing the results of that now. It could also mean that something is coming to light about this part of your chart. So maybe you've had issues with your self-worth. You get this understanding, this opening, this awakening about your self-worth. Newsflash, you are inherently valuable. You are inherently worthy. You don't have to do anything for it. Isn't that crazy? And sometimes I feel like we need to hear that though. You know, like I definitely do. Yeah, you could be illuminated, or you could have started a new job and then you are illuminated to something, information that you didn't know about this job, and now you're wondering if you still want to do it. Something like that, So think back to March and kind of decide what kind of things were happening regarding my resources, money, income, self-worth, self-esteem, all these things. So the Judgment and Strength, when those two cards come together, to me it's saying that you are having to rely very deeply on yourself and your own sense of inner strength in order for you to move forward in your life right now. Judgment to me feels like it's about like some sort of cycle ending and then beginning another one. But whenever it comes up, it makes me feel like there's like a spiritual transformation that's coming. And when the Strength comes up with it, and the Strength card is so much about our internal strength, about our willingness to keep going when things are hard because we believe internally that we can do it. I got the feeling that you're feeling kind of maybe unsupported right now, or that you're like really having to do something on your own. And the tarot is just reaffirming to you that you have the strength to make the changes that you need to make. So in the beginning of this video, I talked a lot about how during this lunar eclipse, we're like making these like internal decisions, right? Like shifting through whatever crisis or is going on, shifting to decide to move towards a new way of life. And for you guys, I feel like this is I feel like a lot of you guys have really gone under like a spiritual transformation. And it makes sense because Pluto was in your 12th house for 16 years, right? And now it's back there again until November, and then it's going to be leaving for the rest of our lives, and it's going to be going into your first house. So the reason I feel like this came up as a major arcana, because there's lots of cards that show up transformation. I feel like there is a really big decision that you guys need to make. And you need to understand that it's on nobody but you. And I feel like that doesn't hurt Aquarius as much as maybe some other people it would. Obviously there's a sense of like loneliness, like why aren't people helping me? But I feel like for most of you guys, I'm just gonna get one other card. I feel like for most of you guys, you have this inherent knowing during this eclipse that you have to do this on your own, regardless of what anybody thinks, regardless of if you have support or not, that you have to move towards some sort of spiritual transformation. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is making me feel like this is bringing me back to the second house. Like, what's going on with your guys' relationship to money? I feel like there needs to be a spiritual transformation around how you feel about money, because this card to me is like one of the cards that has to deal with like scarcity, right? Like the fours in general are about foundations and stability. So maybe you've created some sort of stability in your life financially, and now you are being asked to transform that relationship. And it looks like some of you guys, obviously this is a general reading, but I feel like some of you guys are feeling kind of restricted in that. Like you don't want to. You're holding on to that. This could also just be, I mean, this is usually about money and material things, but it could be about relationships. That's a material world too. It could be about a job. Like you're being asked to step into some sort of a new way of making money, and you're scared because you've been doing this same thing for a long time. But regardless, this card is so much about having a scarcity mindset. The thing about money is that it's energy, right? And so energy is done best when it's not hoarded, right? We give energy, we take energy. We give energy, we take energy. So when we're holding on super tight to our money, it's just perpetuating this idea that there isn't enough money because I need to keep hoarding. I need to keep hoarding. So yeah, this is really just reiterating that there's an examination that needs to happen with your examination and transformation. That's going to take a lot of inner strength. Maybe you don't have a lot of money. Maybe you don't have support. And yet you're still being asked to transform your relationship to money and move towards a more spiritual outlook. And you have to rely on your own inner strength to get there. Let me know how that resonates for you guys. Please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time, Aquarius. All right, so my Pisces. This eclipse is happening in your sign, of course. So if you have anything around 22 to 28 degrees Pisces specifically, that is going to make it even more powerful. I will be reading this for Pisces rising. Feel free to read it for Pisces sun, moon, or whichever placements you feel like you want to. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you listen to the first part of this video, of course, because this eclipse is in your sign, and it's important for you to understand the totality of the meanings around this eclipse. When I originally did the tarot for you guys, I got the Ace of Pentacles and the Seven of Cups, which I felt like was very, very fitting. Very, very fitting. But I felt like there was one more card that needed to come out, and so I decided to pull one, and I got the Lovers. So very, very, very interesting. If you listen to the first part of the video, you'll understand that decisions are a big thing. And for you guys getting the Lovers, which is a major arcana of decisions, but also relationships as well, and being intimate with another, it's a sign of Gemini. That you guys getting the major arcana version of that makes me feel like this, especially for you guys, the Sabian symbol aspect of this video, definitely listen to that part. So, lunar eclipse in your first house. Now, I want you to think back to March 10th, around March 10th of this year. What was going on in your life? Literally, what was going on in you? What was going on in your attitude, your physical body, your appearance, your identity, your sense of self, your approach to life? What was going on, or what seeds were you planting? Because when you have a new moon in Pisces, you could really decide to change your identity. You could change the way you look out into the world. You could change the way you actually look. You can change, your identity. You can have a new beginning. What new beginning was begun that is now coming to a culmination? Or now you are getting information, you're getting illumination around this thing. The Ace of Pentacles and the Seven of Cups with the Lovers. To me, this feels like there is confusion, which, I don't blame you if there's confusion specifically for you guys right now, because Neptune's right there on this lunar eclipse. So it's like you have a lot of options. The Seven of Cups is like there's a lot of options, and then it becomes like overwhelming, and you could have like a clouded judgment as well. Now, okay, let me say something. When the North Node moves into your sign in January of 2025, and then we have eclipses in your sign from then until 2027, this one's like a preview. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this one's kind of like a preview, I feel like. But when the nodes move there, you're gonna have your first node you're gonna have the North Node in your first house, South Node in the 7th house. Now, when that happens, there is a lot of energy on you, and then you and your relationships and how you relate to other people, right? So there's going to be a lot of energy in your sign, okay? And I feel like there is a financial decision that needs to be made, a new job, working towards a new business idea. Like maybe you have an idea that you want to move towards. Maybe you have too many ideas. Maybe you have tons of ideas of, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do this. It is imperative for you guys to make a decision right now using your intuition. Okay, you are the sign of like so much intuition, right? We need to use that right now to make a decision, make a shift internally, decide this is the way that I'm going to move forward with these new ideas, with the new job that I want to have, because this is who I want to be in this world, right? This is happening in your first house. And so you may be actually presented with an offer during this time or a few weeks after with this lunar eclipse, a job offer, or you may have an idea. I want you to understand that there is some confusion right now for you. And so, like I said in the Sabian symbol aspect portion of this video, the decisions that we're deciding to make now aren't concrete. They're rooted in experimentation. And so, making a lifelong decision like getting married or something during this eclipse, don't recommend. Do not recommend. Even though we have the Lovers card, it's like these smaller, intuitive, internal shifts that are happening. And for you, I feel like the Lovers, like it may be speaking to your partners, your relationships, because the Sun and Mercury are in your 7th house right now. But I feel like more importantly, it's saying that you have to make a decision, and it's really important right now. It's a significant decision. Just remember that there is some confusion, maybe clouded judgment. So if it's something that's like super life altering, give it time. And if people don't give you the time that you need, then the situation's not right for you, is what I will say. Regardless, if you're having this offer made to you, or if you have this idea for making money this way or something, or a new business idea or a new creative idea, move towards one, is what I would just say. Because when the North Node moves into your first house, you're going to have a lot of energy in your life direction. You're going to have a lot of energy in like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go here. So right now, if you can kind of gear yourself towards a specific direction, I think North Node in your first house won't be quite as chaotic for you. So let me know how that resonates, you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.